Hey guys, as you know, I'm your coach, your mentor, and founder of the League of Experts. And we have a special guest with us today. His name is John Daves, and we're always excited to know what people are up to, how they are serving. And as you know, at the League of Experts, our mission, our calling is to support you to create core intellectual property so that you'll be able to connect, convert, and to create community with those who you are called to serve. Now we have a heavy hitter here, John. John, he is the head, not just the head, because he is the head of equity and inclusion at Packer Collegiate Institute, and that's in Brooklyn. And he's always had a passion, in terms of serving persons in the space of education. He has a long resume. He's not just John, but he's Dr. John. All right. So you guys give him his title, give him his creds. He's worked as the director of community affairs. He was a U.S. principal at Carolina Day School. So he is coming in this space with a wide breadth of knowledge and information in the education space. John, we're so happy to have you here.
Well, I'm happy to be here and happy to be of service in any way I can to offer and impart knowledge about how you do identity development work in independent schools and colleges.
Okay, so you have a wide range of expertise working in the education space. I think Packer Collegiate is an independent co-educational school, correct?
Correct.
And you guys work from pre-K through 12, yes?
Yes.
All right, so tell me a little bit about what that work experience has been for you working in the DEI space. Share with us your superhero.
Yes. Every DEI space is different.
Right.
So when you're doing this work, if you decide to do this work, know that you'll get a job description, but that job description might change. So, for example, when I was the director of community and equity affairs at St. Mark's School, it looked like a very traditional DEI role of meeting students' needs from an identity perspective where they are. But because that was the racial reckoning and COVID, it turned almost overnight into coming up with an anti-racist action plan for the school community and raising money for the action plan during my first and second year there. At Packer, the work is articulating what the vision of identity development looks like pre-K to 12, working with parent association, and beginning the work of starting to build an equity and inclusion office.
Okay, beautiful. And even as you touched on something that DI is not a one size fit all, correct? And
Sure.
even as it evolves, not just based on the needs of the space that you're working in. So let me ask you a key question. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you first started in this space, what would it be and why?
Really understand who you are and develop the ability to see who you are and your roles and responsibilities through 4 areas of a school community. Constituency engagement, which is admission advancement, communications, and parents, current and prospective. Teaching and learning, what and how you teach from a DEI point of view or perspective.
Right.
Professional development for the entire school community, and student life or student experience, all the learning that takes place outside of the traditional classroom. If you understand your own educational journey and then can see yourself in those through those constituency groups, then you have a clearer understanding of the job that you might get when you walk in the door and how the job evolves. Unlike other traditional leadership or administrative roles, DEI leadership evolves and it's fluid. And you can go from being a consultant to a collaborative leader to having to lead depending on what the situation or circumstance is. And those are the four areas that I think you have to be agile and see yourself from different points of view to meet the needs of a school community when you're a leader in a DEI space.
Oh, beautiful. You mentioned something that triggered a key question to me. You talked about parent engagement. So, lead us a little bit about how crucial is that in the DI space when we are talking about inclusiveness and equitable learning environment for all students. Sometimes we think that parental activities is negotiable or is a role, but do you see that as a key role for the educational experience? So take us through how do you see that parenting role, and secondly, what are some ways you see that parents can engage in the education space in a crucial way?
Well, first thing that I would say, I think that the parent school relationship is vital. And the first thing that you really need to think about are what are the organizations for parents at an independent school or a charter school, public
Right.
school, whatever the educational institution is. In independent schools, that's often a parent association
Okay.
and a parent affinity group. And
Mm.
it's important to think about developing a parent affinity group so
Mm-hmm.
that you have a community within a community to help you meet your child's needs, your needs, in terms of ensuring that you feel admitted and accepted within the school community.
Mm.
And that's very important depending on if you're at a public school, what does that look like? You
Right.
know, and if you're at a charter school, which is often performance driven, what does that mean for you and your child?
Right.
Uh, if you're at a day school or a boarding school, what does that look like in terms of learning how to learn and preparing to learn how to learn for life
Right.
and thinking about what you have either paid for or received support for, and is there financial aid support plus wraparound support to ensure that your child feels admitted and accepted
Got it.
if that is a avenue that you've taken and that you've received, because each of those educational identity journeys and experiences, depending on the schools, has a price tag to it.
Mm.
And certain ways in which you have to understand yourself in relation to the school community. And you want to create as many resources for yourself as a parent and for your child as possible.
Beautiful. So as we think more about, parental engagement, for many of us who either are parents, I'm a parent, I have a beautiful son, he is 5, a daughter, she just turned 4. And parent engagement is always an area where you want to one, know how much you could engage and how much you could impact the community and the culture of the school so that you could get the desired outcomes. And then secondly, as a parent, sometimes the challenge is understanding what's the existing culture. How can you bring value to that space, be it up level the space, be it, you know, what I should say, bring inclusiveness. And sometimes if the space is not dynamic or organic to allow the inclusion, um, it could become confrontational, or parents may just feel not heard or not seen. So I want you, yes, you are not just a professional in your space, but tell me one of those moments where it was probably confrontational and how your training was came to bear to not bring inclusiveness, but understanding with, the parenting body and, various stakeholders so that they didn't just say, hey, I'm going to another school, or hey, I'm checking out, or hey, I just have to accept it as is. So take me through that scenario, right? Where it could have been explosive, you diffused it, and how were you able to prepare staff and more so parents to be more inclusive in the educational experience?
Yeah, I think that in terms of working with parents in frustrating or difficult situations with regards to their children, when you're a DEI leader, you want to prepare them with the ability to help the administrators or the teachers understand how to develop a sense of partnership.
Right.
Right. So the first thing that to do is hold a mirror up to whatever the need is, understand what the parent and the student's lens is, and then help them see it from the point of view of both their perspective as well as what the point of view might be for the teacher or administrator. And then come up with a plan or perspective to help the teacher or administrator by saying, well, I understand your perspective might be this. Here's where we're coming from. What are the ways in which we can work together so that my child feels seen and heard and can meet whatever the spoken or unspoken expectations are to be a member of the community? If you start there, then you have the space to talk to and with each other rather than at. And then you're able to really create a space of working together and building what I call the 4 C's. Okay. How well can you, as a parent, model communication, coordinating with the parties at the school, being collaborative and creatively reflecting so that there's a shared understanding of what the goals are. If those 4 C's are something that you know how to do as a parent, then you're also modeling them for your children. And then that sets them up to be agile, self-aware learners and to build their teams throughout their educational process. And the team building, whether that's peers or adults, is perhaps the most important skill for students, and particularly for students of color who happen to be in predominantly white institutions.
Right, right. I love those C's: communication, coordination, and collaboration. And, even as we think about parental engagement and how essential that engagement should be, and more so, seeing parents as stakeholders, I want to encourage, for those who not just have ownership over the DEI space, as you work with administrators, but even for parents, we sit in that parental seat, right? Wherever we may be, even as talking to you, I'm also thinking as a parent. So, attend workshops, be a part of the process, join parent teaching associations, advocate for diverse curriculums and resources. And just know, like, persons like John, they've trained administrators, to take that feedback, work that back into their system so that, students could be a part of the learning experience, participate in school events. I grew up, if you guys hear my accent, I'm originally from Trinidad. So Caribbean experience, we will have PTAs and both parents would be there, they want to know what's happening, what's going on. So, I grew up with that in background. So bringing that into my family, I want to encourage parents, it's not a mom thing, it's not a dad thing, it's a we thing. So engagement and being a part of the process allows you both to have a vision of what the school is, the direction the school is going on, so that you take things in context and not out of context. It's really, really crucial. And, finally, just engage in the conversations, engage in conversations so that you can have a true vision of that. But, with just the remaining time that we have, I want to turn, not just to your expertise, but I want to speak to your humanity. What has really brought you into this space? We all come into this space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, not because it's just a career, but it's a calling. And I could sense that from you, just looking at your resume. You didn't pivot out of the space. You've always been in the education, in the education industry. And there was something that stood out to me that you chose to give us a peek into. And I'll read this, and while I'm reading it, I know you're going to start to smile, right? And it reads, a few weekends ago, so the person says, "Hi, Mr. Daves. A few weekends ago was my extra 5-year reunion. And it had me thinking about all that I'm grateful for. And I just want to say that having you as a teacher, without doubt, was one of the most valuable parts of my high school education. I am not super proud of any of the work I submitted to you as a student, but that doesn't change the fact that you are one of a handful of teachers at Exeter whose teaching means the most to me. For me, I have grown up with the type of privileges that enable me to occupy spaces like Exeter. It's pretty clear that wouldn't have been easy for me to become a far more problematic person that it had not been for certain experiences, one of which is truly critical education you provided me with. So thank you so much again. I hope you're doing well. Do you remember those words?
Absolutely do.
So tell me what number one, when you read it, and number two, why, because I know this is just a sample of all of the experiences you've had. What does that represent to you as an educator? And what fuels you? What's your why?
Yeah. So, that quote spoke to me not only because of the kind words that this former student wrote to me, but he really articulated what I think is my calling, which is helping students, faculty, staff develop self-aware engagement skills,
Mm,
particularly if you are in influential spaces like Phillips Exeter Academy.
mm,
You have to know how to see yourself through the eyes of other people in order to lead. You have to have an understanding of who you are and in relation to others. And what this student was saying that be, from his experience in my class, he began to understand how to see his privilege and to learn how to understand that privilege in relation to others to lead a
mm,
more purposeful life. And that is the calling if
mm.
you're in DEI work. The other thing that he said, which is really important, is he started to do those 4 C's. He
Right.
started to model them, right?
Mm,
He does the creative reflection. He does the communication of learning more important than just the tasks. He does the collaboration and the context work of understanding himself from a variety of different points of view to sort of present the value of a self-aware, engaged learning experience that prepares you to learn how to learn and see yourself from multiple points of view throughout your life.
right.
So that um, that quote captured the essence of what I hope to do on my best days. The other aspect of humanity is know that you're not perfect, know that you have to learn from your mistakes, and own various aspects of who you are, as that student did, saying, "Wow, I'm now aware of how my privileges could have hurt me in
Right.
my acquiring a deeper understanding of my humanity and my ability to engage and support others. And had it not been for the education I received, I might be a more problematic person."
Mm,
That is so important
yes.
to understand the what my father used to say: with privilege comes responsibility.
Yeah.
And he was articulating that idea.
Wow, wow, wow. So profound, and as you, I don't want you guys to miss this, because you said it for the second time, and I don't want you all, as you're listening to this conversation, the 4 C's, communication, creative reflection, coordination, collaboration is what creates, it's what creates the type of unique experience that we're talking about and having the dialogue on. So with just 2 minutes on the clock, I want to ask you some creative questions. If you were to describe yourself as what you do in the world, not just as the lead as in your space, what you do in the world in terms of its effect and its impact as the head of equity and inclusion. If you were to choose a superhero character, right? Who would that superhero be? And who would be your arch nemesis?
Well, I think the superhero speaks to me the most these days.
Yeah,
It used to be Batman, but obviously today it's Black Panther.
right,
And the reason why is because the superhero embodies the living history of the Black diaspora.
right.
And for me, the Black diaspora includes continent of Africa, obviously North America, the world, but particularly
Don't
the
forget the Caribbean.
yeah, and I was going to say the continent of Africa and Caribbean, because that is the colonial experience,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and where we come from as Black people, whether it is the Caribbean or the continent of Africa, we're all a part of that colonial imperialism story, and that
yeah,
is our shared identity. Whether you're voluntary or involuntary immigrant to America or any of the other kind of Western countries, so to
yeah.
speak. So that comic and that character really does articulate our shared community, our shared Black diaspora identity. To be on the call with you and to receive that question means a great deal. And obviously, it's Black Panther, and fighting against that living history is obviously the villain, and make people aware of that history so that we can address those wrongs. That's obviously the ongoing work and challenge.
Definitely the ongoing work and challenge. So leave us in our heart, for those who are in this space, either working in the educational space, our consultants, across the world, really throttling through, pressing through to make that difference. And more importantly, as they at times maybe question, you know, am I making that impact? Is it really worth it? As we see, the world turns, sometimes change turns even more slowly. I want you to speak to those thought leaders who are listening to this interview, those who work in the education space. What is your clarion call as you speak to not just to the career, but to the calling? Inspire us as we close at this time.
Yeah, know that if you take this calling and if you stand up, similar to what happens in I think about church for a moment. I didn't grow up going to church, but I understand the value of the church as a means of communal uplift. And if you decide to be a leader, it means that you're standing up in the congregation of our humanity and our struggle for dignity and to be seen and heard and valued. When you do that, know that the adversity will come, but you have to stand strong and know that your value is enough to offer perspective in the ongoing work for change. It means that you're going to get constructive and unconstructive feedback. It means that you're going to face challenges. It means that you might have to leave jobs and find other jobs where you're going to get that support. But know that the ongoing work will be done because of the impact that you have, and you're going to see it both directly and indirectly through quotes that you've gotten, like I did, from a student, or through initiatives that happen during your time or after you've left an institution. But know that if you're committed to being who you are and seeing yourself and building the coalitions through the interactions with others and being able to see yourself from different points of view, know that you will be successful and valued in more ways than one, but but and also know that even in that adversity, that things are happening, and that you are making a difference, despite the challenges and the confrontations and the setbacks that you're going to have to endure along the way.
Wow, there you have it, folks. Just know that you are making a difference. Our friend Dr. John Daves dropping the mic, encouraging you, reminding us not just of who we are and the work that we do, but more importantly, the ripple effect that it has. And thank you so much, John, for joining us. John Daves, he is the head of equity and inclusion at the Packer Collegiate Institute, and he just came by to inspire and to remind us, know that the work that you are doing is worth the journey. Thank you so much for being a part of today's conversation, sharing some of your time with us and inspiring others in the work that you do. And for those of you who want to stay in connection, you at a professional level, as a consultant, just being in the space of inspiration, I do encourage you to follow John. That's Dr. John Daves on LinkedIn. He's much active. He's in that space as well. And join us for more of this conversations like this, exclusively in our mastermind. You can find us at joinloe.com. That's Join League of Experts, so LOE, joinloe.com, to have access to this type of exclusive conversation. And we look forward to more as we inspire you in our mastermind to create the intellectual property, to start that type of conversation, to connect, convert, and create community with those who you are called to serve. Have a great day. My name is Mwale. I'm signing out. Take care, guys.